All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all the honor, the praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, real well. Peace and salutations to the elect, scattered abroad. All right, this is Brother Bible Saul here with a lesson, and Lord willing, it's edifying. All right, so, this lesson will be entitled, the wicked, the hypocrisy of the wicked, and the wicked or the wicked can't escape their judgment, right? Something along those lines, right? Going into a little bit of this, I guess MAGA pastor, whatever he, calls himself. All right, guessing, radical right. All right, Christian nationalist, pastor, whatever he calls himself. He's pretty much going back to the standard of the Old Testament, in order to put judgment on Jake. All right, which the nerve of this man Esau, to actually go back to the law of the Bible, when the whole time it was the law was done away with, but all of a sudden, in order to get at Jake, all right, they're pushing Deuteronomy 21, all right, which goes into stoning rebellious a boy, right? A boy that's just rebellious, you put him to death. All right, and this is what he's using to justify putting a sword on these different Jakes. All right, which we know that Jake is wicked. However, we also know that this man Esau, he wasn't created to be a man of the Lord. All right, this man Esau has single-handedly created a society that goes against the law, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures. And all of a sudden, he's using, the scriptures in order to, to put Jake in order, so to speak, right? But I'm going to read this real quick. It says, unconscionable MAGA pastor calls for executing rebellious black youth, citing death by stoning in Old Testament. All right, and notice, even though he's going to this point, he don't go into, the Edomites, which we know that everything that, Jake does, he learned from you devils. All right, except, you devils do it on the mass scale, compared to Jake, it's petty, petty theft, petty, whatever. But you rob on a mass scale, murder at a mass scale. All right. This is what your history consists of. All right. So this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Yeah, Khan. All right. And what Esau is doing, he's doing his best to put Jake at the forefront of the problems when, pertaining to America. All right, when we understand that, Jake has no power. All right, all the problems that, people go through, even the predicament, that Jake is in is all caused by, Esau, Edom. All right, now you still gonna have, of course, you have people that's, wicked amongst our people, people going through the curses, things like that. It's a 2/3 that has to be cut off. All right. But, you Edomites, you have a judgment coming for y'all as well. All right. A judgment even worse. All right. Because of the crimes that you've committed against, not just Jake, but, the heathen as well. All right. So let's get this. Isaiah 14:21, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. All right, so you devils got a lot to pay for, man. All right, what you've done to, during the transatlantic slave trade. All right, what you've done to the Gadites, the so-called Native Americans, killing them, stealing their land. All right. The Northern Kingdom, amongst the, you got the, so-called Puerto Ricans. All right. You got other Southern Kingdom amongst the Caribbean islands. All right. You put in Jake in, the Jim Crow, you got Tuskegee experiments. All right. All the things that you've done, against our people. And all of a sudden, you're trying to hide that history. All right. Like this guy, Donald Trump, he pretty much is taking out certain historical images, going back to slavery from these different national parks. All right. He's trying to lighten, the slavery that was put on, the Israelites, the true biblical Israelites. All right. Well, the scriptures say that, this devil got to pay for what he did. All right. Now, even though, we was put in that position because we went off. All right. This devil has continued to forward the affliction, and it has went, we gone too far. All right. And, the things that you've done, you got to pay for that. All right. And now you got these different, guys like this, pastor like this, so-called, all right, false teacher, right? Twisting the scriptures in order to, to uphold the Edomite supremacy, right? And, Esau's been doing this, all right, ever since, plantation Christianity. Right, the slave Bible, only bring it out, the precepts that justify, him, putting Jake in slavery. All right. But meanwhile, this man is a hypocrite because, he want to go back to the Old Testament way of doing things. But yet, these different guys like that, these different anti-Christian pastors, they don't go against, homosexuality. All right, they don't go against adultery. All right, they don't go against eating, unclean beasts. All right, all of a sudden, the law is done away where you can do whatever you want. But when it comes to Jake, they got to be held to that standard. All right, which just shows the hypocrisy of this Edomite. And meanwhile, you got these different Edomites, leading, being the pedos, right? These different mass shootings are the Esau. He's silent about that, and that just go to show you the hypocrisy of this man. All right, let's get another one. Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not well. And who is he? All right, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, meaning what? Whoever ruled this world right now will be considered the wicked. And we know that, Esau, Edom, started with, the Amalek, right? The small hat, the tiny tops, however you want to call them. All right, that, they're leading, all right, the world. They're ruling the world. All right. So it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So the Esau, Edom, he's also known as the wicked, the man of sin, man of perdition. And we're going to get that as well. He covered the faces of the judges thereof, if not where, and who is he? And that's what this man has done. Iconoclasm, the image of Cesare Borgia, totally blaspheming, the Lord, the depiction of the Lord. The true image of the Lord, that's what this man has done. And him trying to, erase his history, trying to make himself, as people that he's not, and he's done that time and time again. The Israelites try to pose himself as the original Greeks, the original Romans. All right. Anything, he, tries to hide behind being, Japhites, anything that hides behind his true history being Esau, Edom. All right. And this man has never, ever been set up to serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right. Even during the time of Cain, he made the unworthy sacrifice. He couldn't make the unworthy sacrifice. And, Cain, he was, what was he looking to do? He would, murder his brother Abel. All right. Crashing out. That's what this devil does. All right. Same thing at the time of with Esau and Jacob. All right. He gave away his blessing for a morsel of meat. Right. And was ultimately supplanted, or the birthright, right? And was supplanted, all right, by Jacob. You see? So this man was never meant to serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. He was always meant to be the wicked. He's the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. All right. So let's get, we can get this here. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. That's going into Esau, Edom. All right. Now with the falling away, that pertains to the Israelites. Coming back to the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Coming back to who they truly are as a people. All right. The Lord has, awakened our people. All right. To understand who we truly are. And also expose this man, Esau, Edom, of who he truly is, which we know he's the wicked, right? The man of sin, son of perdition. All right. And you can see that, starting, of course, with, the prophets, the men of the Lord. All right. This man is being exposed left and right, even by his own people. You see? And, now that he's being exposed of being the devil, all right, he gotta play the blame game, putting it on the Israelites, spinning narratives, all right, creating, false events, which we believe that NC train station attack, was a event set up by Esau. It's just a lot of, red flags, right? So this is a situation that Esau is using, all right, in order to spin a narrative that, it's Jake that's ultimately the problem, when we know good and damn well is these damn devils, because Jake don't got no power, man. Verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Yahweh, or that is worshipped, so that he as Yahweh sitteth in the temple of Yahweh, showing himself that he is Yahweh. And that's what this man is doing. All right, setting up these different satellites and surveillance, pretty much being like a left-handed, angels and, things of that nature. And we know that his ultimate plan is giving everybody the MOTB so he can have the ultimate control, posing himself as that God, right? That power. All right. And he knows that, whoever take it will, exalt him as such, worship him as such. All right. So we get the next precept. This is Ezekiel 35:5. Or we can start at 2. Matter of fact, we can just start at the first verse. Moreover, the word of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. All right, now Mount Seir, represents, of course, the Edomites, could also spiritually represent America, because we know that, the Edomites, run America. All right. And Mount Seir, all right, is a place where the Edomites, dwelt. All right. That's known for where the Edomites dwelt at. So this is going into Esau. Verse 3, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, on Mount Seir I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. So you Edomites cannot escape the judgment that's coming to you from on high, man. All right, no matter how much you try to twist the narrative, you use pseudoscience. All right. Plant your little psyops and whatever. We just read that, the scripture about Satan's devices. All right. We won't let the Satan's devices, all right, take advantage of us, roughly paraphrasing, right? So, we understand what this man does. And this man is the devil. Devil goes into deceiver. All right, all this man does is try to deceive the people, all right, in order to get his way, and he's done that time and time again. All right. Verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity. This definitely ain't talk about the small hats. Esau in the small hats, man. All right, they holding hands with each other. Esau is protecting them. They the most protected people. All right, you can't even put a juice emoji on TikTok anymore just to protect them. All right, that ain't talk about the nation of Israel. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. This is going into the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, this ain't talk about no damn tiny top, man. All right, it says in the time of their calamity, yeah, and we in captivity. All right, the tiny tops, they rule the world right now, man. All right, and in Israel, all right, the true Israelites is at the bottom, going through the curses in captivity. All right. And it says, in the time that their iniquity had an end. All right. Oh, let's read verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And that's it. Bloodthirsty Edomites. All right. And they looking to put that great wrath on you Jakes. Which the Lord put the spirit on, to get the wicked of Israel. All right. But, that doesn't take away from the judgment, that Esau has to get as well. All right. For what they have done. You see? So gonna get one more precept. And we're going to end it. This is Jeremiah 51:8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. There you go. And that's the whole point, because this guy, the MAGA pastor, right? He pretty much is he's pretty much going back to the Old Testament to get on you Jakes, and to do what? For what goal? All right, to make America great again, so to speak. All right, to solve the problem for America, so to speak. All right, so this guy is completely in line with America. The scriptures say that this place has to be destroyed. The scriptures say that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, all right, is against this place. All right, so you're not lining up, all right, with with the Lord's intentions on this place. All right, you using the scriptures in order to oppress the Israelites. All right, and keep America going, which, the Lord, prophesies the downfall of America. You see? So, this guy, he can't be a man of the Lord, man. All right, and there you go. And we read verse 9 to say, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go, everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted even to the skies. All right, so Babylon won't be healed. All right, it ain't gonna be another rebirth of the Roman Empire. All right, we at the second half. In this we at the end. All right, that this place is going to continue to go downhill. All right, the civil unrest. We need that. The economy crashing. All right, we got World War III. We in the midst of it. All right, Esau he gonna push that MOTB, make it mandatory. All right, and this place gonna be destroyed by ICBM nuclear missiles. According to the scriptures, as the scriptures saith. All right. But that'll do it with the lesson. Lord willing, it was edifying. So with that, I'd like to give all the honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Rakha Kodash. Shalom.